My best friend threatened to report me for engaging in intimate activities with my daughter, so I planted kitty adult films on his hard drive. My daughter is 14 years old and me and her have a very non-traditional father-daughter relationship. We are from Alabama and my daughter's mother passed away when she was just 3 years old and so I started taking care of her all by myself. I would like to consider myself as super dad throughout this time period as I really did go all out for her, but when she started turning 11 and developing womanly features things got out of hand. I was actually not the one to escalate things into turning intimate, she was. I remember she was 12 years old when she came into my bed for the first time and put her hand on my manhood area, telling me she really wants it. I hesitated, telling her that this is not okay at all and she should get back to bed, but her hands kept gliding lower and lower. Eventually, the fact that I had not slept with a woman since the passing of my wife caught up to me, and I gave in to my daughter. I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but the intimacy was phenomenal. It was so good that after that point, me and her started doing regularly, and ultimately the intimate satisfaction she was able to provide me became so good I stopped trying to look for a partner. She was better than my wife in bed. One time I bought this vibrating toy and I used it on her and it was amazing. Anyway, we continued this relationship of ours on the low-key for the last 2 years, but last week I made a grave mistake. I had my best friend over at my trailer and we were sharing a beer. At the end of the night I went into my daughter's room to put her into bed. I kissed her slowly on the lips before coming back out, and my friend looked at me kind of disgusted. He asked me if I just kissed her, and due to the fact I was intoxicated, I made a grave mistake. I opened up to him about the fact that my daughter and I do the deed a couple of times per week and she is the reason that I am so satisfied with life and have been for the last couple of years. My friend did not find this as innocent as I thought however, and he seemed repulsed by me. He left immediately, telling me I will either confess to the police about what I had been doing myself, or he will do so. He gave me 3 weeks. When he left I panicked. I went into my daughter's room to look at her and thought about all the fun times we had together, how she smiled every time it was time to engage in intimate endeavors and how this might have to all come to end. Then, very drunk on alcohol, I came up with a brilliant solution to my seemingly unsolvable problem. My friend gave me 3 weeks, and I was about to use those 3 weeks to the best of my advantage. Well, the next time my daughter started initiating, I asked her if there was any chance we could film so I could watch it later for my own enjoyment. She liked this idea a lot, and so that's what we did. She put on a show for the camera and it was one of her best performances yet. Later that night I got to work. I inputted the video onto Photoshop and took many screenshots of frames where only she is visible, then cut them out and put an effect on her face to blur it so my daughter would not be recognized. I proceeded to make a folder full of these photos. There were maybe 100 photos there all with her face blurred out. I proceeded to, the very next day, go over to my best friend's house and pretend to beg him for forgiveness and ask him not to report me. I put on a show and promised to stop it, but he was having none of it. Then while he wasn't looking, I snatched his USB, then after pretended to cry and told him okay. I told him I would confess in 1 week. I just needed a week to try transfer some money and other things out of my account to make life easier for my daughter. He was okay with this. Little did he know, that very night I transferred the photos from the folder I had previously created onto his USB stick. I plan to return to his house tomorrow, with the USB stick where I will tell him my final goodbye and pretend to be on my way to hand myself in. Little does he know, the USB on his desk will now be filled with kitty adult films, the police will be called on him, and he will be the one arrested.